Hello and welcome to the Health Detective Podcast by Functional Diagnostic Nutrition. We bring you interviews from people who have conquered the trickiest of health challenges using the Functional Diagnostic Nutrition philosophy and similar healing modalities. You're going to hear from experts who have been through the ringer with their health issues and yet managed to come out on the other side. You can always visit us at functionaldiagnosticnutrition.com, but for now, here is today's episode. All right. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to another episode of the Health Detective Podcast by Functional Diagnostic Nutrition. My name is Evan Transue, aka Detective Ev, and I will be your host for today's show, episode number 409 of the Health Detective Podcast. It is crazy. I feel like we just fly through these numbers now, and it's going to be exciting. I have to think of something for 91 episodes for now. Episode 500. That seems like a big one. So we will start planning something cool. We had two podcasts today. If you're on the YouTube side, if you're on the audio side, you don't know any better. But on the YouTube side, this is a fun day. We're about to leave actually for Austin, Texas for the Health Optimization Summit. If you haven't been able to hear about that yet, or you happen to be somewhere in Texas that would allow you to go, I'm sure we have some links somewhere. So I will get that figured out. Tracy, my partner in crime for the podcast, is actually not with us today. So I will figure out that link for you guys. But if you happen to be down in the Austin area, Dallas, Houston, and you can make it this weekend, we would love to see you. It's all day, Saturday and Sunday. And again, it's called the Health Optimization Summit. Even if you just go to the graduate group or trainee group, I know that we have some code in there. So we'd love to have you guys be a part of that. And this is why we needed to sneak a couple of podcasts in one day beforehand. So this one is going to be really interesting. We're going to touch on a couple of topics, but one of the things I'm most interested in getting into today is a discussion around hormone therapy. This is becoming something that I'm seeing more and more people go to. And I even wonder for myself, admittedly, with what's happening with the world and how many toxins there are and how sick so many of us are growing up. Some of these things seem to be very beneficial if used appropriately and at the correct dosages. So, when I'm in my 40s or 50s, would these be smart things to utilize to kind of have some more life in me for a little bit longer and to feel good as long as possible, especially because selfishly, I didn't feel good most of my childhood and teenage years. So I would like to feel as good as possible for as long as possible. We're specifically, though, going to be focusing on this topic around women today. So I'm going to read our guest's bio and then we will get into this. Ricky supports driven, high-achieving individuals who are constantly pushing their limits, often at the cost of their own well-being. These are people who appear healthy on the outside, but quietly struggle with fatigue, brain fog, sleep issues, and stubborn health concerns that don't seem to improve. Through advanced functional testing and analysis, Ricky helps her clients identify the root causes of their symptoms and create a personalized wellness protocol and tailored nutrition, lifestyle adjustments, and targeted supplements. Together, they work through phases to reduce inflammation, support key systems, and restore balance to achieve lasting health and regain the energy to live as their best selves. Ricky, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's so great to be here.
Yes. Awesome to have you. Ricky is an FDN. For those that don't know, I don't know why you would know that from the bio I just read. So this is a fellow FDN here. You probably have heard the show before, so I kind of want to start this in the same way that I always would, even prior to us getting into the hormone therapy side of things. So you have a personal health story. You actually kind of have a double thing from what I read in the paperwork. There was something with a family member as well. So I'd love to know, when did the health symptoms for you start? And what did they look like? What were the first things that got you paying attention to your health?
Yeah. So when exactly they started, it's hard to tell because I was in tech for many years. I was an engineer, and I became an architect, and then I climbed the ladder, and I was an executive. So I was always pushing myself to the limit. I thought that stress is good. It helps me to focus. I thought that sleep is for weak people. I don't need to sleep. I can work. I worked around the clock, and I just didn't feel that something is going on. I ate healthy. I did physical activity in a regular basis. So I thought that I'm healthy, but I didn't notice that constipation is not good. Because I took laxative. Sounds reasonable for me. I didn't know that my body cannot get the rest because I thought that it's okay because I can just push more work. I didn't really know that something is going on, and I was the high achiever person, the type A personality. I didn't know that it's wrong until I noticed that my son, this is how everything started. That was my aha moment, that my son health is started to, something is going on there. He was tired. He couldn't wake up in the morning. We took him to the doctors. The doctor said it's depression. They started to give him antidepressant. And I saw that something is going on. It's beyond depression. So this is where I started to push for more and more blood tests, because they said everything looks normal. It's just depression. We just need to bump up the medication. And I intuitively felt like something is wrong, something is beyond. And this is how I learned about functional medicine in general. This is how I I got introduced to the FDN practice. And I learned that I should advocate for my son health. And this is how I learned also that something is wrong with me in the process. So I studied for almost 5 years only for us, for the family. In his case, I learned that it was his thyroid that started to dysfunction. And I noticed that something is going on. And the doctor basically told me, yeah, he has antibodies. His thyroid doesn't function well, but he doesn't have Hashimoto yet. And I said, okay, so what do we need to do in order to prevent the Hashimoto? They said, oh, we will continue monitor, and at some point we'll give him medication. And that was the answer. And I was like, what do you mean? I mean, what do we need to do in order to prevent that? I mean, there must be something that we can do to prevent that. And he said, no, we don't do anything. We just wait until his thyroid he will need synthetic hormones for his thyroid. And this is how I started to look into other areas. And this is where I started to understand that something is wrong even with my health, because I knew what labs to ask for. I knew how to advocate for my health. I knew how to really push for what I need to do. And I learned so much about it through my personal story. And after 5 years of studying nutrition and FDN, and really like to get into everything, I decided to quit the tech industry and open my own practice.
There's so many lessons here in this story. So one, obviously, even if you're a humble person, I'll say it for you. If you're an engineer, you're a pretty smart person, right? So the fact that society has done such a good job, whether it was intentional or not is a different story, but we have normalized so many things, like, again, the constipation or whatever it might be. Oh, I take something for this, right? That even someone as smart as you can still be tricked into thinking, oh, this is normal. This is just what people deal with, and I can take a pill for this. So this affects everyone, guys. It's not just like people that aren't thinking about this stuff. It's like no one thinks about this stuff because we're not taught to think about it. The second lesson here is, I've said this many times on the podcasts, some of the best practitioners ever are these moms that get on a mission, because you will sit there with your health issues and your stuff and you'll keep pushing. But the second that something happens to one of their babies, they go like all mama hen on them. And they're like, all right, I'm going to figure this out. I will move the world to get this kid well. So I'm not happy, of course, that your son went through that, but man, what a cool story to be able to say, hey, I dug so deep to figure out what's going on with him that not only, I'm sure you were able to help him, but you're able to help yourself through that same process. The third lesson here, and I cannot state this enough, is I'm so impressed that you were an advocate for yourself. I think many people are scared to do that, and many people are intimidated to do that, because it can be intimidating to be in a doctor's office with someone who is also very smart, very credentialed. They make a lot of money. There's so many things that we do put them on this like pedestal for their status symbols. And so we don't want to challenge them necessarily, but you were correct. You were right. There was something more going on. And then to hear them say, this happened to one of my best friends, Carly. She showed, because I got into functional medicine when we were all in like our early 20s. So she showed me these blood reports, Ricky, it was almost 8 years of her thyroid antibodies going up just a little bit each year. And they said to her the exact same thing that you just said about her son. There is nothing that we can do about this. One day, if you get to the point that you meet this certain level, we'll give you medication because then you'll have Hashimoto's. There is no answers before that. And what's insane is that is not modern science. That is not scientific. If you get, I don't want to even you guys to take my word for it. If you go to Google right now, and then obviously look for actual studies, right, from PubMed, not just from Google, but look up studies regarding our ability to affect thyroid antibodies through diet or other changes. We know that we can do that. So that is outdated science, that you cannot do things for your health that affect your thyroid antibodies. And I'm sure the science still needs to catch up, as I'm sure there's other things that we can do for them that we can't prove yet. So I'm very impressed that it's always cool to see these FDNs that come on and like, I fought for my kid, I fought for more answers, and then here I am on the other side of this. So I have to ask, because just because you're into this doesn't mean that it's always easy to get your son to do all this stuff. So how is he doing overall?
Yeah, so his antibody declined, and I came back to the endocrinologist. I showed her, I proved her that she's wrong. I showed her, listen, I mean, what you do is wrong to people, and put yourself aside from the medical, from the doctor shoes. Put yourself as a person. If you can not do that, if this is not in the scope of your practice, people should know that they can do differently. And that's what put me on a mission. I said people should know that they can have a healthy system, not a sick system, because this is what the medical system is. It's a sick system. It's for sick people. And what we are looking for is to be healthy. And yes, I basically, yeah, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy for 11 years old child to stop eating gluten, to stop eating dairy, to stop drinking boba. It's not easy. It's not easy for all of us, but we all, the entire family, changed the diet in the house so we can support him. It's a mission, but if you want to prevent the medication in the future, there is a mission that you need to start to go through, and you have to do that. There must be a support system, and we as the parents are the support system to our child. And this what happened. I mean, today he's healthy. He doesn't take medication. We support his liver. Yeah, we support his antibodies. We support his immunity. So we do, but he's healthy. He doesn't need medication. And I went back and proved that.
Good for you. And man, I want to frame what you just talked about with the parents being involved, because, and I'm not being rude, I'm giving everyone reality, right? I feel like I can already pick up from your communication style. You're a very kind person like me, but we're just like blunt. Like, this is what you got to do. This is the bottom line. And there's so many parents that say things like that. Oh, how could I get my kid to do this? How could I get my kid to do that? You know what a good start is? You do it. Because our kids are learning from us, and they're sponges. And so it's so easy to write it off and say, oh, they would never do this. It's like, well, I can't promise that if mom and dad start eating a certain way, the kid's going to start eating a certain way. I get it. But I can promise that no 11-year-old ever is going to eat in a way. I guess what I'm trying to say is they're definitely not going to do it if you're not doing it, but they might do it if you do it. So again, you can't guarantee anything, but I love that you guys were right there to support him through this, because that's an incredible change. And it's almost like the worst of both worlds, because 11 years old is just old enough to, you're going to school, you're seeing what other kids are eating. You've probably got your taste buds hooked on sugar to some degree. So it's not like they just grew up eating this way from, 1 year old until now. That actually might be easier, I would imagine. But 11, you've already got to experience some of this stuff, and now you got to realize why it's not going to work for you. So huge respect to you guys for leading by example and changing family trees. I think that's really cool. How did this transition then into you finding FDN and choosing that it was the right school for you? I'm sure you've heard other stuff that I've done. I'm very objective. Our school is not for everyone, and that's totally fine. So I'd like to know, in your research, what made you think FDN would be a good fit for you personally?
Yeah. So I didn't know about functional medicine before, and I didn't know about FDN, of course. Mm-hmm. I started, my journey was, first of all, nutrition. And I studied holistic nutrition. And this is how I learned about the word of functional health. And I started to look for different schools. And what I liked about FDN is that, first of all, it really brings me the anatomy. I mean, it wasn't easy, but I learned the anatomy. I learned all the functional labs that available for the public. I learned also the business part. I learned about the entire process was not easy to study, but it was super eye-opening for me. I didn't know that there are so many labs that people are just not aware of, because the doctors don't offer them, because the insurance don't cover them, because the insurance are really need diagnostic codes, and those labs are not helping us to, I mean, they are not for disease diagnostic. They are there for healing opportunities, to looking to really find out what's going on in the body and what needs to be changed to bring it back to the optimal function. And this is all what everything that is FDN is all about, is really to look for the healing opportunity to bring the body back to balance and work in the optimal way. That's it. And when I learned about that, I said, okay, this is the school that I'm going to study. And I didn't even plan to leave the tech. I was an executive in tech. I made tons of money. I was planning to retire in the 55. I mean, I wasn't care about that. I said, I'm going to do that only for myself, for my child, for my family, for my friends. And as I studied more and more, I said, oh, well, I need to tell my community. I mean, I need to advocate for people. People should know that they cannot get no as an answer from the doctors. Same way I basically advocate for my kids, and all parents should advocate for their kids, and they do. I should advocate for my body, and people should advocate for my body. And this is what I really learned from FDN.
Nice. This isn't a business conversation, obviously, but I talk about that frequently on the podcast. And I wish everyone would tap into what you've tapped into, because listen, I get it. When you graduate, you spent money on the course. A lot of people do have to focus on the money side. I graduated at 21. I totally get this. But if you just start with the mission in mind and feeling like, yes, I have an obligation to tell other human beings that this exists, guys, I promise the money and the clients, they just fall in place. If you lead with that mission and you walk around in your heart saying, like, other human beings need to know about this, I'm not going to shut up about it. I'm going to make sure that they know. You can't help but get clients and get a business developing. Obviously, there's skills in business. I get that. There's technical things that need to be learned. But if we're talking about the first batch of clients, you can get that just by being passionate, being on a mission, and letting other people know. I did a radio show, and it always sounds cooler than it is. I paid to do this radio show, just to be very clear, before I did the FDN podcast. And my tagline on there was, we were leveling the playing field around physical and mental health. And what you said, Ricky, in the beginning was actually what I meant by leveling the playing field. I didn't mean that you can't go take a medication for your thyroid stuff. You should be able to do whatever you want. But it's what you said to your endocrinologist. If that's not what you're going to do, other people should at least have the right to know that there are other options. That's a level playing field. When I have all the options laid out for me, and I know, all right, well, I could take a thyroid medication for the rest of my life, and possibly there's going to be side effects. And I never really got to the bottom of what was affecting me. So that might lead to more problems, but I can take the medication. Maybe I feel good for a little bit. Or I can do the hard work. I can do the investigative work. I remove some stuff from my diet. And yeah, that's going to suck in its own way. But man, once I figure that out, I am going to be setting myself up for a life filled with health. I'm going to have a higher probability that I don't have disease for the rest of my life. And you become a different person. When you have to learn to discipline yourself and not just engage in impulsive decisions around food, right? Oh, the gluten tastes good, so I got to eat it. When you learn to discipline yourself in that way, you become a different and better person. So I love this. And then my next question for you would be, so you help your son with all this. It's amazing. You go on a mission as a family. You have a great career going for you, and you still choose to do FDN. So we're super thankful that you did. I think these are some of the coolest stories. When did you decide then that, hey, I want to work with this specific demographic? I understand when you wanted to shift into just doing it as work in general, you wanted to let people know. But how did you know that the demographic was going to be around people maybe closer to your age or dealing with what you've dealt with, as opposed to helping people with kids who have hypothyroidism? How did you choose your niche?
Yeah, so it was very intuitive for me, because when you are going through a health issue, this is the one you fix that, you want to spread the word.
Mhm.
And that's basically what it was. So I was in the mission. It was very interesting because in the beginning I said maybe I will work with people with cancer, but I didn't have, thanks God, I didn't have cancer. So I wasn't really advocating for that. But because I helped my child with thyroid disorders, this is really what I care about. So I started to work on that, and then I went through hormone changes because from as women in her 40s and their and 50s, so I went through hormone changes. So that was another area that I cared about. So every time when I care about something and I know that I fix it and it's really in my family,
Mhm.
it just intuitively I start talking about it, and people just come with similar problems. I love writing, so I just write.
Nice.
And I have a Facebook group, so I just write whatever I have in mind from time to time. And if it's something that I really care about, I really have a passion for, then I will write about it, and then people will just start working with me. So that's how everything started. So do I have a niche? Yeah, I have. My niche is really to work with people with, first of all, hormone changes, because
Mhm.
even thyroid is connected to hormones. And we do see women, I see that a lot with women who go through menopause phases. Their thyroid hormones started to decline. Maybe it's not their thyroid function, maybe it's their liver conversion. But maybe in the thyroid hormone conversion that happens in the liver, maybe it's their immunity that started to decline. So it's not about like, it's really about the story, what the person is looking for. And if I went through that, and if it's close to my heart, this is my passion.
Gotcha. All right, then I'm going to get a little more direct with the hormone therapy side. So, what's happening now a lot is when people, let's say women, are experiencing menopause or perimenopause, all this kind of stuff, if they don't know about the functional medicine side, the belief is that this is supposed to be a time in your life that just absolutely sucks. It's not good, and you're going to feel like crap. It's very similar to the belief, and I always get myself in trouble for saying this as a guy, but I promise we've had women on saying the same thing. It's like the women that believe that throughout their teens, 20s, and 30s, and 40s, if they're experiencing their cycle, that needs to be 3 or 4 days of the month at least, that they're like out of work or can't go to school or whatever it is. And as FDNs, we don't believe that. There are many women that have come on here and said that they live totally normal lives even when they're having their period because they got this health stuff under control. So what I'm getting at is the belief is this time of your life's not going to be fun, it's going to suck. And now what is starting to happen is we're seeing this movement of like hormones getting handed out left and right. I know it's probably less than I think because we live in a bubble, right? So we see things that others don't. But there seems to be clinics popping up all the time for like, this is not the same thing, but I'm saying things like Ozempic. And then at that same clinic, you'll find testosterone replacement therapy for men. You'll find the other hormones for women. So your personal belief, from my understanding of what I read in our documents, is you do believe that these things can be great, can be useful, but if you're not doing this in conjunction with the testing, if you don't know the proper dosing, you actually went as far as to say in one of the learning points that this could make you feel like $1,000,000 or it could kill you if you do this wrong. So let's dive into this. Do you believe that hormone replacement therapy is something that like most people as they get older should be utilizing, or is it only in certain cases? Let us know about what your thoughts are with this.
Yeah, it really depends. First of all, I believe in bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. This is one because we want to make sure that the hormones that we get are identical to our body. So this is first, and then we want to see how our liver metabolizes these hormones, and that can be very dangerous if the liver doesn't metabolize the hormones properly. And third, we want to make sure that not only that we get enough hormones, but they need to be in a certain ratio between with each other. Because what I see, and I see that a lot, many women come to me and they go through more menopausal symptoms that they're very typical. Sometimes they're not even aware that also depression is typical, or hair loss, or they know some of them like hot flashes, night sweats, sleep issues, but they don't know all the others. and they come to me, and they either on birth control because they dealt with PMS, they dealt with PCOS, and they just wanted to prevent a pregnancy. So they are on birth control on their 50s. And the doctor just said, yeah, just continue that. That's totally fine. And so they get the period, or they just don't get their periods anymore. And they just have all kind of symptoms. And they have no idea that they really, really screwed out with their liver function. And that's why they have cholesterol. And sometimes they say, yeah, it's running in my family, cholesterol. And I say, well, it's not because of that. It's just because your liver is overloaded. And then they have thyroid disorders, and they just don't know that everything is connected. You don't need to go to your family doctor for this, and for your endocrinologist for this, and for it just, everything is connected. All the hormones are related to each other. So I know that my answer is probably long, but it really depends. Some people they should, some people they should not, because their liver will not be able to metabolizes those hormones right now, and and every person needs different hormones dosage. So it really depends. It's hard to say, but I will not recommend to do any hormone replacement therapy before testing it properly.
Great point. And yeah, no worries. I knew it's going to be a nuanced topic, and we're going to have to dive into it. That's why we have the rest of the podcast. So what I guess I'm wondering then is, like, everyone's hormones, of course, are going to decline given enough time. This is something I'm actually, believe it or not, I'm already thinking about, because I try to think decades ahead, and I'm like, well, what would I do if I'm at 55 years old, 60? Like, even if I live a perfectly healthy life, there's no way my testosterone is going to be as good as it could at 55, 60. And then some would say, well, this isn't perfectly proven. We don't actually know this yet, but some argue that testosterone replacement therapy, for example, can, shorten your life a little bit. But, is it worth it if it improves the quality of your life while you're here? I don't have the answers to that yet. I don't know. But my point is, everyone is going to decline. So one thing I just want to be clear of, and I'm sorry if I'm misunderstanding this, let's assume that the person has normal declining hormones, as would happen to anyone when they age, no matter how healthy they are. Their liver can metabolize everything fine. Do you think most people would still benefit from it then? Of course, this is not medical advice. I'm just wondering your opinion. Or are there some people that, hey, they're just going to feel fine for the rest of their life? They don't actually need to do any of this stuff, regardless of whether or not their liver could handle this?
Yeah. So first of all, we can support the adrenal, and we can support the hormones in a natural way through the food, phytoestrogens. We can for testosterone, we can do weightlifting will help with testosterone production. So we can look into the natural ways as well, and we should do that. We can start there. With that said, hormones supports other functions. I mean functions which are other than fertility and libido. These are the main functions for since puberty. But these hormones, the estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, and also DHEA that starts to decline. This is another hormones that we want to support in order to. I like to say DHEA is really like a master hormone. It helps with all other hormones regulations. So even these hormones start to decline. So, and those hormones helps with so many functions in the body. For example, glucose regulation, for example, lipid regulations, for example, body temperature, skin health, hair health. Yeah, do we have to go with hormones replacement therapy? Sometimes not. Sometimes we can get it from nature. Sometimes if we eat enough phytoestrogens, if we're looking at, for example, women in Japan, there was a research that was done in Japan. Women in Japan do not take hormone replacement therapy, and they cancer percentage is less than 1%. And and the reason for that, what they found out, that the reason for that is the tofu, is the soybeans that they eat, because those are rich with phytoestrogens. So in the past, there was a research came that said, don't eat tofu because it's very dangerous and it can cause you breast cancer. But today we know, and we look at people in Asia and their level or the percentage of cancer, breast cancer, is super low in considered to United States.
Mm-hmm.
And they are not in hormone replacement therapy, and they eat tons of soybeans, and soybeans is very rich with phytoestrogen. So yeah, we can get it from the nature. Now, why I still support in bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, because most people will not stick to will not eat enough, will not get it enough from nature. As long if you can get it enough from nature, it's great. You don't have to. But if you cannot get it enough from nature, or your adrenal is not strong enough, or your body is in high stress, or there are other factors that affect your hormones, maybe you take some levels of hormone replacement therapy just to bring your body back to balance,
Gotcha.
at least temporary, and then it will help you.
I appreciate you referencing how well some of the Japanese women are doing, because I got to be dead honest. Like, if there's certain things in my mind that I picked up throughout the years, and then I admit I probably haven't reflected on. So I'll be transparent. If you talk to me right now about like soybeans or tofu, I'd be like, yeah, I wouldn't eat that stuff. But the reality is, maybe that's something to look into. And also, what type are we talking about? Because like the soybeans that are grown genetically modified in America might be a lot different than what's happening in Japan.
Yeah.
So fair enough on that. Okay, one of the other things that you mentioned was, and you were very clear about this, definitely no one should be doing this, you don't think, without proper testing. So as FDNs, that means hormone testing, but it probably means other things as well. So I'm curious, what are some of the tests that you utilize in your practice that you would ideally want women to use before ever even considering the hormone replacement stuff?
Yeah, so for hormones, and in general, it's not only for women in menopause,
Sure.
but it's also people who go through very high stress, or people who have fatigue, or people who have bad sleep, or everything that will hint that there is some issues with the adrenal. I personally work with Dutch test. And I always want to see, of course, blood tests. And I send a very long list of panels, such as the full thyroid panel. I do want to look into the thyroid panel. So I will look for reverse thyroid, T3. I want to see the uptake. I want to see the total. I want to see the free. So I want to see the entire thyroid panel. Mm-hmm. And I want to see the Dutch test. Those are for hormones.
Okay. And so when you are going through these tests, what are some of the big red flags that you'd be looking out for and saying like, whoa, there's some lifestyle stuff we need to look at here before we would ever consider throwing hormones? Or is it even like that? Am I on the right track? Like, I'm kind of wondering, are there things that stick out that you'd be like, whoa, we need to do the lifestyle stuff first for sure before considering hormone replacement therapy?
Yeah, so there are a few things that I'm looking for. First of all, the metabolizes cortisol. If I see that the body is exhausted, the body just stop producing because it went through a very chronic stress. This is one. Or if it doesn't produce enough, and then the free cortisol is super high. So those two are big flags for me that we need to do some lifestyle changes. Also the DHA, the ratio between the cortisol and the DHA, I want to see them on a certain ratio. So if I see something in this area that the body just exhausted, or the body is in high anxiety, I will first work on lifestyle. In general, I mean, yes, stress is a big factor of our life. And most of the people that I work with people who are coming from tech industry. And I know how the tech industry is. I've been there. I was there. I was this person. So they are pushing all the time. So I'm not surprised to see. So even before I get the test results, I will start with them on some lifestyle changes, and that will be related to sleep. That will be related. I'm personally using the Oura Ring to monitor.
Okay.
I'm a data person.
As an engineer, I can't believe it.
Yes, I am a data person. So I'm looking at all the data points that I can. Data points are very important. I mean,
Mhm.
as many as that, I always said to people, it's like as many as data points I get, as accurate I can be.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, if you want to save on data points, that's fine. So we will poke hole, and poke holes in the dark. But that's okay. It works sometimes, but
Yeah.
sometimes it's not. Sometimes it takes longer time. So I use the Aura Ring with my clients, and I use Aura Ring on myself. So I always look at the stress levels. And there are also good stress. So stress is not always bad. Yeah, excitement is stress. Dancing is stress. Yeah, physical activity is stress. It's not about how much stress I mean, how much stress you have. It's really like how long it takes your body to restore and relax from the stress, and in the total how much stress you have and how much stress you have in the evening before you go to sleep, because that will also affect your sleep. So
Yeah.
I'm looking at the stress level. I'm looking at the on the sleep practice. I want to see what you eat before you sleep, how much you eat before you sleep, and when is your last meal of the day. Do you drink alcohol? Do you drink coffee? And I will always monitor as much as I can. I will monitor through Aura.
Mhm.
So I will look at the deep sleep. I will look at the REM sleep. And I'm a big, I'm a freak of sleep, because I had a huge sleep problem as an engineer. So I thought that sleep is for weak people. Like I
Yeah.
said, it's like, yeah, I mean, I don't need to sleep because I need to work with India at night and in Israel at night. And in the morning, I need to work in California. So I don't need much sleep.
Mhm.
But I didn't know what it cost to my body. So there are many factors that lifestyle factors that I start with even before I get the results, just by talking with the person.
I hear you on the sleep thing. I'm very similar. And the reality is, I had to like flip the mindset, which it sounds like you did very effectively as well. It's like, okay, so sleep's for the weak, and I'm superhuman, so I don't need sleep. That's stuff I would say. Where I can switch it now is saying, if I get this sleep down, I feel like superhuman. If my sleep is good, even if I'm not doing the other stuff perfectly, which I try to do as well as I can, but if I get my sleep down, man, that's the thing that makes me feel the best, and I'm ready to take on the day. The Aura Ring has been hugely helpful for me because it shows me, as a type A person, fellow type A, it shows me certain things are stressful to my body that I wouldn't consider stressful. So, for example, and this isn't a normal day for me necessarily, but we had a podcast earlier today. And then about once or twice a month, I do what I call like outbound podcasts for FDN. So it means like I'm a guest on someone else's show. So in the last 3 hours, I've done, this is now the third one. Now, I look at this as though I'm sitting on the computer and I'm talking to people that I love and it's not stressful. But when I was checking my Aura Ring actually before this one, before this podcast, it literally said you're over halfway to your activity goal for the day. I only walked this morning. I haven't done activity. But the reality is, even my own job, which I love, my body is still perceiving this as, dude, you're operating at this super high level because you're doing interviews. I'm probably sitting with a different posture than I might normally sit with. All this stuff's happening. So the Aura Ring's great for people like us because the interesting part for type A's is a lot of the times we will respond to like data, spreadsheets, or logical arguments. So when we can see what we're doing is not working or it's too much, then we respond well. One thing I wanted to go back to, and then I'm going to jump forward. So you had mentioned that if someone is under high stress, they could be a good candidate for HRT. You also said if they have sleep problems and stuff. So I guess for me, what I don't understand yet is, clearly sleep problems could be just from high stress in general. High stress could be because you're not taking care of your lifestyle stuff. So at what point then in your work with an individual are you able to determine that, hey, you still have sleep problems, but we've done enough of the lifestyle stuff that the pros outweigh the cons to do HRT? Like, does that make sense? Because I'm thinking, well, if I hear someone with sleep problems or high stress, I'm only focusing on lifestyle. But at the same time, you listed off that there is a time and place that if someone has sleep problems and if someone has high stress, they might benefit from the HRT. So I guess, like, how do you know when you're working with the client that it's time to jump to that instead of just relying on the lifestyle stuff?
Yeah. So it's really the chicken and the eggs, because if we have high stress, we won't sleep. And if we don't sleep, we will have high stress. Our body will be stressful. And so I will try. And it really depends on, I always look at the body response. The body really signal us. So if I see that we did everything we can to support the body. And I do use herbs. I use supplements in some cases. I will try that. And if after few months, like 4 or 5 months, depends on what I see, I still get response from the body, that the body still cannot get the rest that it needs. And the body is in high stress. And sometimes I will repeat the test after 6 months. And then I see, okay, yeah, we did everything we can. The person, there is one thing to recommend, and there's another thing to be realistic. So I mean, I need instead of pushing my philosophy to the person, I always like to, first of all, to understand what the person is capable to do. I don't want to add more stress because he cannot meet the target, because it's just not doable. It's like teaching, I don't know, a Chinese an Israeli kitchen. It's like I have to work with their kitchen. I have to work with their lifestyle, and I need to really fit myself to their needs, and that's what I do. So I will try to do whatever we can, whatever the person is capable to, whatever the body can absorb, whatever the body can change. And after a few months, if I see that still there is no good sleep, still there is very high stress, still I see the body needs support, then I will go toward the.
I like this. I love the way that the industry is moving in general. Because I've been a part of this. Like when I first got into this, I was a purist. So when I say purist, I mean, like, I didn't even want to take supplements. I have this mindset of like, I'm just going to do the diet stuff. I'll never have to worry about supplements and all that. And the longer that you're in this, and this seems to be a common trend, because I know a bunch of other people who think the same way now, it's all about pros outweighing cons and finding the best solution for that person. And we realize that we're working with someone who has to operate in a very imperfect world, just like us. And really the best thing that we can do for them is give them the best experience while they're here. So we don't jump to that stuff, like you said, but if they are trying the other things and there's just nothing else that they can do in their life at this point, yeah, they are literally better off adding some of this stuff in. So my final question for you before we get into where people can find you and all that kind of stuff is, you mentioned bioidentical hormones. You're a very credentialed person, but you're not a doctor. So I'm kind of wondering, what does it look like for people to actually get these hormones? Is this available and I don't realize it? Do they have to go to a doctor to get it prescribed? Like, how does this even work? If you're making a quote unquote recommendation to them, how would they actually go about getting it?
Yeah, so I personally partnered with a doctor. She when I feel that this is the person is the right fit. She's an MD, but she also believes in functional medicine. So she will not treat any person with bioidentical hormone replacement therapy without the Dutch test results.
Okay.
So when I have this connection, when I know, okay, this is the right fit for her, I will send her. I will first, of course, I would consent with the person. I will send her the Dutch test results along with my protocols, along with my analysis, along with everything that the person already tried and does. And then she tells me, okay, yes, it's a good fit. And then I will make the connection. So the person basically continue working on the functional health industry, on the functional health protocol, and she knows everything that they do. And she knows what supplements I gave them, what diet change they made, what lifestyle change. And she knows also the person lifestyle. Mm-hmm. And then she fits the right dosage, because what I really hate about traditional doctors, and I was quite surprised by a doctor that actually said that. I was part of a panel where a doctor said she provide a hormone replacement therapy, and she said, I don't need to test anything. I
my
just
gosh.
give the dosage, and then we'll just look at the body symptoms, and we just bump the hormones until the symptoms are gone. She literally said that in a panel, and I was sitting next to her, and I was like, it's just amazing. She said, well, as long as the test will not change the treatment, so why should I test it? That was her answer. And I was like, what do you mean? There's so much things can go wrong.
Yeah, well,
If
then
you
how
don't.
would you ever know too? Like, let's say something actually does go wrong, and then you have to test again. You don't even know what the baseline was. And that's the thing. It's like, I can already get again a good enough vibe of people when I talk to them. Like, I know that you mean it the same way that I do. It's not like we're being arrogant here because we're not doctors ourselves, but at the same time, like just logically, how
Yeah,
could that possibly? Why on earth would you not just run a basic test to figure out like some base numbers? It's not even that it's wildly expensive to do that, especially if they were just doing it by blood. Like you'd think that would just be par for the course. And then not to mention, obviously, we could argue that some of the testing is not sufficient enough, right? Like you can go to these TRT clinics and they'll do one blood draw at free testosterone, or not even free sometimes, and then they'll prescribe TRT to you. That at least, I don't agree with that, by the way, but at least I could understand where they're coming from the Western perspective, and then we could have a debate. To not even test and to say we're going to go off symptoms, this is like the antithesis of what we believe as FDNs, right? Like that's the last thing you go off of. You always have to test and not guess. So yeah, that's pretty crazy, and I'm sure that was an interesting panel to be a part of. What, especially for the audience members, I'm sure there was conflicting views there.
yeah. It was amazing because I got so many clients after this panel, because people was surprised to hear that the doctors will not test because they don't care about the result, because anyway the treatment will be the same for all. There is no one fit for all, and we are different people. Our genetic is different, our health is different, our lifestyle is different. So why do we need to get the same treatment? And it doesn't matter what the treatment is. And yeah, I mean, I was quite surprised to hear that, but yeah, of course I don't believe. And the reason to do that is because the health system eventually is tied to the health insurance that try to avoid expenses whenever they can.
I don't want it to turn into a business thing, but I'm very impressed with a lot of the stuff that you've said from the business perspective. So just to be clear then, good for you, because you went out there on this panel, you still shared your truth, even though that has to be, I get that you seem like a very strong personality. It still has to be somewhat intimidating when a doctor's saying the opposite of what you're about to say. And then you have to kind of be the person on the panel without the degree that's relevant to that and say this stuff. But it worked. And you said you got clients from it because you actually spoke what you believe to be the truth.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, guys, I know it's uncomfortable to do this stuff and it's not for everyone, but I've been using this line a lot. I've learned it years ago, but I haven't been saying it as much. It's fortune favors the bold. And what that means is like when you go out there and you just be bold, you share your truth and you share the things that you believe, you're not going to be for everyone. There's some people that listened to that doctor and said, oh yeah, I agree with that. And I don't agree with Ricky. But because you had the guts to get out there and say, no, I don't think that that's right, respectfully. But I think this is right. You attracted your tribe and the people that resonate with us. So that's amazing. I wish we had more time today. I want to ask, well, kind of three more questions. Some of them are simple, though. Don't worry. One of the ones is I just would love to hear client testimonials. I know that you now actually work full time, which is amazing. So congrats as an FTN. But when I ask about client testimonials, I know that we can't share everything. So it's just to the degree that you're able to. I love stories of someone who came to you. Maybe they're like at the end of the rope. They're so tired of working with different practitioners or professionals. And then you as an FDN were finally able to be the one that could actually help them. Are there any stories like that stick out? And could we share them, please?
Yes, there are tons. People who come to me, they are sick of trying everything. So they really got into a point that they tried everything, and they get to me. One client that actually she just called me in the morning to thank me. She said she came to me with thyroid issues. She was treating with hormones replacement therapy for her thyroid, and she was very tired all the time. She couldn't even get out of the bed. She needed help with her kids. And after we ran Dutch test and we changed her, she changed with her doctor based on my recommendation. I worked on her protocol, really helped her with lifestyle mostly. She texted me, she called me actually this morning. She said, Ricky, I felt like I had a blanket on me and I finally don't have it. So I
Yeah.
just didn't know that I was in the dark, and I was covered by a huge blanket that I just couldn't see the light.
Mhm.
And she called me in the morning. I was so excited. As I said, it's just unbelievable to hear that. So yeah, that worth it, everything,
Yeah.
when you hear that.
You're giving someone their life back. And yeah, and since we've been through this, we get it. Like, man, to give someone their life back when all that you can focus on is your health, it's one of the coolest things. Like, obviously, we're hustlers. We like going out and working and, getting money. That's great. But you lose your health, none of it matters. None of it matters when you're not healthy. That you need to have that down first. So that's a perfect story to end this out today. Where can people find you, my friend, if they would like to work with you or learn more?
Yeah. So first of all, people can Google me and find me through Google. My website is lifechangingwellness.net.
Does this work too?
Yeah, that works too.
Okay,
Yes,
perfect.
that works too. It links to the new website, and people can book with me a free discovery call through my website, and we will dive into their health concerns.
Perfect. The final and signature question on the show, it doesn't even need to be about hormones. It can be, though, if you'd like. But the question is this: if we could give you a magic wand, you could wave it and you could get all of our viewers and listeners to do just one thing for their health. So that means you could get us all to start doing one thing, or you can choose to get us to all stop doing one thing. What is the one thing that Ricky gets us to do?
Yeah. Work on your sleep. I mean, if you don't sleep well, this is the key for most health issues. Really work. I mean, I do want to say so many things, but I will stick to that. I mean, that was the key, and it's pretty hard to fix the sleep. It's not easy as you think, and as you age, it's becoming harder and harder. So work on your sleep. Stop drinking alcohol. Stop drinking coffee in the afternoon time. This is the last caffeine. Just work on your sleep and advocate for your health, just like you advocate for your kids, just like you advocate at work, just like how you advocate for everything around you. Advocate for your body, because you're responsible to your body, not anyone else.
Awesome. Ricky, thank you so much for coming on today. Guys, remember, you can find all of her other links in the show notes. So if you're watching this afterwards, no worries at all. Or if you're listening on audio, again, just go to the show notes to check out our stuff. Thank you so much for coming on today. And thanks for being an FDN. You're definitely, these are like the types of people we love bringing into the community. Super credible. And I'm glad you're here and doing this work.
Thank you very much.